You work hard for your money, and you want to know how to pick a ripe, sweet, juicy pineapple and how to cut it the right way without wasting a single bite. That is exactly what we are going to talk about today. Welcome back, folks. Because I will tell you the honest truth, it absolutely breaks my heart to see good, hardworking folks getting swindled by these big grocery chains week after week. Just the other day, I was standing in the produce aisle of one of those massive corporate supermarkets. You know the exact kind of place I'm talking about. The kind with the glaring fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the slick floors and the soft music playing in the background, all designed to put you in a trance and make you forget just how much everything actually costs. I watched a young mother balancing a tired baby on one hip, looking totally defeated at a huge display of pineapples. They were charging almost $6 for a single fruit. $6 for one piece of fruit. She reached out, picked up a rock-hard, completely green pineapple, let out a heavy sigh, and placed it gently into her grocery cart. I knew right then and there what was going to happen when she took that expensive fruit home to her family. She was going to face one of two very disappointing situations. She was either going to cut into it that very evening, trying to give her kids a nice healthy treat, only to find the flesh inside pale, hard, and tasting exactly like sour pine would. Or she was going to do what so many of us have been tricked into doing. She was going to leave it sitting on her kitchen counter for days, maybe even a week or two, waiting and hoping for it to turn completely yellow like a banana. By the time it finally looked like the bright yellow pictures they print on those sugary juice boxes, she would take a knife to it, only to find a mushy, fermented, rotting brown mess inside. That is hard-earned money thrown straight into the garbage bin. And you know my motto, passed down from my grandfather and the generations of folks who built this country with dirt under their fingernails. We do not waste anything. Not our time, not our money, and certainly not the good food the Lord provides for us. These massive food corporations, they do not care if you end up throwing half of that expensive fruit away because you do not know how to pick it or how to trim the tough skin off properly. In fact, if we are being completely honest, they would probably prefer it. Their entire business model relies on you messing up, throwing it out, and coming right back next week to buy another one. Or worse, they want you to wander over to the kitchen gadget aisle and spend $20 or $30 on some flimsy plastic contraption just to core the thing. A piece of plastic that will break in 6 months and end up in a landfill anyway. We are not doing that here. We believe in being self-reliant, thrifty, and smart. Out here on the farm, we grow a whole lot of what we eat. We rely on the earth, the rain, and our own two hands to fill our pantry. But I will be perfectly honest with you. Tropical pineapples simply do not grow in our frosty northern winters. So when we want a taste of something sweet and tropical for a special occasion, we have to go to the store and rely on the commercial supply chain just like you do. And let me tell you, when I hand over my cash for something I cannot grow myself, I expect it to be worth every single penny. I refuse to be dependent on their games. Today, I'm giving you the straight, honest truth about store-bought pineapples. No gimmicks, no false promises, and absolutely no fancy equipment required. I'm going to show you the 4 simple natural signs to look for that will guarantee you bring home a sweet, juicy, ready-to-eat fruit every single time you go to the market. And after we cover how to pick the perfect one, we are going to head over to my wooden cutting board. I will show you the traditional, sensible way to slice it up, using nothing but a good, sharp knife and a little bit of common sense, so you do not waste a single good piece of that sweet flesh. We are taking back control today, folks, because knowing how to feed your family good, healthy food without throwing your cash down the drain is what true independence is all about. So, if you're tired of the guesswork, tired of the high prices, and tired of the waste, pull up a chair, get comfortable, and let us get down to the truth about picking and cutting pineapples. Let us start with a hard dose of reality, the kind of truth the big agricultural corporations really do not want you to know. When you walk into your local grocery store, you're not looking at a wild, natural fruit straight from the jungle. Unless you're lucky enough to live right down the road from a tropical plantation in Hawaii or somewhere similar, you are buying a commercial hybrid. We are talking about varieties bred specifically for the commercial supply chain, like the Monte Gold or the MD2. Now, you might have never heard the name MD2 before, but I guarantee you have eaten one. It is literally everywhere. These corporations design these specific varieties not for the absolute best flavor, but for durability. They need a fruit that can survive being packed into a dark shipping container, loaded onto a massive cargo ship, and hauled across thousands of miles of ocean and highway without turning to mush before it hits the store shelf. Because of that massive journey, these pineapples are harvested early. They are picked before they are truly perfectly ripe on the plant. And this brings us to the most important biological fact you need to understand today. This is the science of it, plain and simple. Unlike an apple, a peach, or a tomato, a pineapple will never get sweeter after it is cut from the stem. It just will not happen. When a pineapple is growing in the dirt, all those natural starches are stored right at the base of the plant. As the fruit matures under the hot sun, the plant slowly converts those starches into beautiful natural sugars, pushing them up into the fruit itself. The very second that farm worker takes a machete and severs the fruit from the root system, that sugar-making process stops cold. It is completely over. It is physically impossible for the fruit to generate any more sugar because its supply line has been completely cut off. Now, the outside skin of the pineapple might continue to change color as it sits on your kitchen counter. The green skin might slowly fade and turn yellow or orange as the natural acids begin to break down the flesh inside. But do not let that color change fool you. It is not getting any sweeter. It is just slowly rotting. It is fermenting. This is the biggest myth out there, and it costs folks so much money. People think they need to wait for a store-bought North American grocery store pineapple to turn 100% bright yellow all over before they cut into it. If you wait until it is completely yellow from top to bottom and it feels soft and squishy in your hands, you have waited entirely too long. By the time those commercial hybrids get to that state, they are overly ripe, they are mushy, and they are well on their way to the compost pile. You do not want those. And obviously, just so we are being completely thorough, if you pick one up and notice any fuzzy, white, or green mold growing around the base, put it right back down. That is nature telling you the fruit has expired. So, how do we actually beat the system? How do we find the diamond in the rough? We are going to use 4 honest rules. 4 simple steps to ensure you are getting the best possible fruit your store has to offer. The very first thing, and honestly, the most crucial thing you want to look for in a good commercial pineapple, is the color balance. We just established that you do not want it to be totally yellow, and you certainly do not want it to be completely rock-hard green either. You are looking for a beautiful compromise. You want a pineapple that has a little bit of green and a healthy amount of yellow. Take a good look at a proper Monte Gold, for example. If you inspect the skin closely, you will see it is made up of all these beautiful little geometric shapes. They look just like tiny diamonds locking together. When a Monte Gold is in its prime, sitting right there in the produce section, you will see a beautiful warm shade of golden yellow right in the very center of each of those little diamonds. And around the outside edge of the diamonds, it will still have a nice, crisp shade of green. They are just perfectly made that way. The other common one, that MD2 variety I mentioned earlier, might not look quite as picturesque as the Del Monte, but the rule still applies. It is going to have nice, distinct blotches of yellow mixed in with the green. The golden rule here is that you want at least half of the entire fruit to be showing that nice yellow color. That tells you it was allowed to stay on the plant just long enough to develop some decent sugar before it was harvested. If you pick up a fruit that is completely green, solid as a rock without a single speck of yellow on it, put it back on the shelf immediately. Do not buy it. Do not take it home hoping it will miraculously get sweet. It will not. It is a waste of your hard-earned money. Now, once you have found a fruit with the right color balance, you move on to the second rule. The second thing you are looking for is the leaves, also known as the crown. The leaves are going to tell you the absolute truth about how fresh that pineapple really is. A fresh pineapple sitting there in the produce section is going to have nice, healthy-looking, vibrant green leaves sticking straight up from the crown. Those leaves are still holding on to the moisture they brought with them from the field. On the other hand, a pineapple that has been sitting around the warehouse or the store shelf for far too long is going to have nasty little brown leaves that just do not look healthy anymore. They will be all dried up, shriveled, and brittle, often with little brown, crispy bits crumbling off the edges. If the crown looks like it is dying of thirst, the fruit inside is past its prime. You definitely want to avoid those, but looking at the leaves is only half of the secret. Here's a cool little farmer's trick, a hands-on test you can do right there in the aisle to know exactly what is going on inside that thick skin. It is called the pluck test. If you find a pineapple that looks good, I want you to reach right into the very center of that crown. Grab the single leaf located at the very top, right in the middle, and give it a firm pull. Here is the biology behind why this works. As a pineapple plant matures and the fruit reaches its peak readiness, the internal plant tissues holding those leaves together naturally begin to soften and break down. It is the plant's natural life cycle preparing for the next stage. So, if that pineapple is truly ripe and ready to eat, that center leaf should come out really easily with just a gentle tug. It should slide right out without a fight. Now, if you try to pull that top leaf out of a pineapple that is not ripe yet, you are going to really struggle. You will find yourself yanking on it, and it will stubbornly hold on. It might eventually snap or come out if you use enough force, but that initial resistance is the plant's way of telling you that the internal tissues are still hard, tight, and completely unripe. Trust your hands. If the leaf fights you, leave the fruit right there. All right, now the third thing you are looking for is the weight. This one is pure, simple physics, folks. A good pineapple should be nice and heavy for its size. When you find one that passed the color test and the leaf test, I want you to pick it up in your hands. Do not just look at it, actually feel the weight of it. Give it a gentle toss in your palms. It should feel dense, almost like a small bowling ball. Why does the weight matter so much? Because weight equals water, and in the fruit world, water equals juice. A heavy pineapple means the flesh inside is bursting with natural moisture and sweet juice. Over time, as a pineapple sits on a shelf, the moisture inside slowly evaporates through the skin and the crown. A pineapple that feels surprisingly light when you pick it up is a fruit that is all dried out inside. You're essentially paying top dollar for dry, fibrous plant material. So, never buy a light pineapple. Always make sure it feels substantial and heavy in your hands. The fourth and final thing you're going to do before you put that fruit in your shopping cart is you're going to smell it. Now, do not just smell the side of it. I want you to turn it upside down and bring the very base, the bottom where it was cut from the stalk, right up to your nose. That base is where the sugars are most concentrated. A ripe, ready-to-eat pineapple will have a really nice, distinct sweet smell. It should smell exactly like a fresh glass of tropical juice. You will honestly be able to know exactly what it tastes like just by taking a deep breath. If you bring it to your nose and you do not smell absolutely anything at all, it is too green. The sugars have not developed. But on the flip side, and this is very important, if you smell a sharp, sour odor, something that reminds you of vinegar or cheap alcohol, that means the natural sugars inside have already started to ferment. That fruit is spoiling from the inside out. Put it down and walk away. If you stick to those 4 honest steps, checking for the green and yellow color balance, making sure the leaves are healthy and pass the pluck test, feeling for that heavy water weight, and checking for a sweet aroma at the base, you will be able to choose a nice, juicy, sweet pineapple every single time. You will stop wasting your money on green wood and rotten mush. Now that we know exactly how to pick them, let us head back inside to my kitchen counter. I have brought home 3 different pineapples to show you exactly what these differences look like on the inside. And more importantly, I am going to show you the safest, most practical way to cut them up without wasting anything and without needing any fancy gadgets. All right, folks, we are back inside the kitchen, and let us get right into this. I brought home 3 different pineapples to show you exactly what we have been talking about. Sitting right here on my wooden cutting board, I have 1 pineapple that is completely green. This is an unripe MD2. Next to it, I have another MD2, but this one has that nice bit of yellowing on it that we just discussed. Because it passed all 4 of our steps, it should be a nice, ripe, juicy fruit. And finally, over here on the end, I have a perfect example of a Monte Gold pineapple that also passed all our tests with flying colors. It smells beautiful, it has gorgeous green leaves, and it is nice and heavy. Let us cut into each one of these so you can see the difference with your own eyes. Right away, just taking off a slice, you can see that the 2 ripe ones are a beautiful, rich yellow inside. But look at this green one. The flesh is pale, almost white. I'm going to take a little bit of the flesh here with my scooper and give it a taste. Just as I suspected, folks, that is incredibly sour. It makes your lips pucker. That is unripe plant material right there. Now, let us try the ripe MD2. I can already see the juice pooling up on the board. Oh yes, that is incredibly nice, sweet, and perfectly juicy. Finally, let us taste this Monte Gold. The flesh is wonderfully soft. It is sweet, but it has a little bit of a tart bite to it. Some folks like it mostly sweet, some like that sweet and sour mix. I personally love that little bit of tartness. Now, I do not represent any of these massive fruit companies. I really do not care which brand of pineapple you choose to buy at your local store. I am just using these 2 specific kinds because I know almost every grocery store in North America carries them. What this proves is that if you follow those 4 honest rules, you will bring home a winner no matter what sticker is on the fruit. Now, before we start processing these good pineapples into slices and chunks, I need to say our safety word. Safety word, folks. Please pay attention. Pineapple skins are incredibly tough, and the juice makes everything slippery. A dull kitchen knife and a wobbly cutting board are a fast track to the emergency room. Take a moment to put a damp towel under your cutting board so it does not slide around, and make absolutely sure your knife is properly sharpened. Furthermore, when we cut off the tough outer skin and the hard, woody core, do not ever let your dogs chew on those scraps. I know a lot of us like to share treats with our 4-legged farm helpers, but dogs cannot digest that tough pineapple skin. It will cause severe, expensive, and incredibly dangerous bowel obstructions for your animals. Keep the scraps away from your pets. All right, let us get to processing. We are going to ignore all those fancy, expensive gadgets and gizmos they try to sell you on the television to core a pineapple. We are going to be practical and just use a good, honest knife. The very first thing I like to do is grab that top leafy crown, give it a firm twist, and take it right off. Now remember our rule. We waste nothing. You can take this beautiful crown, peel away a few of the bottom leaves, and plant it straight into a pot of dirt. With a little patience, it will grow roots. Next, you want to cut the bottom off, and then cut the top off. This gives you a sturdy, flat base so the fruit stands straight up and does not roll around on you. Now, you're going to take your knife and slice off the outer skin, following the natural curve of the fruit from top to bottom. You want to cut deep enough to remove that tough green and yellow hide. But as you peel away the skin, you are going to notice these little brown indentations left all over the yellow flesh. Some folks call them seeds, some call them eyes. We need to trim every single one of those out. Here's the biology of why. Have you ever eaten a piece of fresh pineapple and suddenly your tongue and the roof of your mouth start to feel spicy, tingly, or even burned? That is not an allergy for most folks. That is because pineapples contain an enzyme called bromelain. Bromelain literally breaks down proteins. When you eat those little brown eyes where the enzyme is highly concentrated, the pineapple is essentially trying to digest your mouth right back. You do not want to eat those. So, take your knife, go in at a slight angle and carve out those little strips of seeds. It might look like you're trimming away some good fruit, but taking the time to remove those little brown spots means your family will actually enjoy eating it without their mouths burning. Once you have a beautifully clean, trimmed trunk of pineapple, we need to deal with the core. Again, no special tools are needed. Just take your knife and slice the entire pineapple straight down the middle from top to bottom, cutting it into 2 equal halves. Now look at the flat side of one of those halves. You can clearly see the hard, fibrous core running right down the center. All you have to do is take your knife and make a simple V-shaped cut along the edges of that core. One angled cut on the left side, one angled cut on the right side, and that woody core pops right out. Now, take all those tough skins, those strips of spicy seeds and those woody cores, and sweep them straight into your compost bucket. Do not throw them in the trash. Take them out to the garden and let them break down to feed the soil. Let the earth turn it right back into rich dirt for next year's crops. Now that we have removed the core, we have these beautiful clean halves ready to be served. There are basically 2 practical things you can do with this fruit, and I am going to show you how to do both right now. For this first half, we are going to cut it into simple slices. You just lay the flat side down on your board so it is perfectly stable. Then, you take your knife and simply cut straight across, making nice, even semicircles. When you transfer these over to your serving plate, here's a little trick to make it look nice without putting in any extra effort. Just push the slices gently to the side so they fan out and overlap each other slightly. It makes a beautiful presentation for your table, and you did not need to buy a $50 crystal platter to make it look good. Now, let us grab that nice ripe MD2 pineapple we cleaned up earlier. We are going to prep this one the exact same way. We slice it down the middle, do our simple V-cut to get rid of that woody center part, and trim up any stray seeds if we need to. But instead of slices, I'm going to show you how to cut little chunks. These are perfect if you want to throw them into a morning bowl of oatmeal or keep them in the icebox for the kids to snack on. You lay the half flat on the board, and you cut it lengthwise into long, straight strips. Once you have your long strips, you simply turn your knife and cut across them the other way. This gives you perfect, bite-sized little cubes or chunks. You just scoop them up and drop them right into the middle of your fruit bowl. Simple, clean, and you used every single piece of the good meat. Here's your homework for this week, folks. I want you to put this into practice. The next time you find yourself at the grocery store, I want you to walk right over to the produce section and look at the pineapples. You do not even have to buy one if it is not in the budget this week. Just practice. Look for that yellow and green color balance, pick one up and feel how heavy it is. Turn it over and smell the base. And most importantly, practice that leaf pull test on the crown. If you do decide to bring one home, take your time in the kitchen. Make sure your cutting board is secure, keep those tough skins away from your dogs, and practice doing that V-cut with a sharp, safe knife. I want to hear how it goes for you. Leave a comment down below and tell me if you have been spending your money on those hard green pineapples by mistake all these years. I read every single comment you folks write, and I truly love hearing about your progress. Your participation and your willingness to learn these traditional ways help this community grow, and it allows me to spend more time making these videos just for you. So thank you very much for being here. Be sure to come back and join us next time. Next week, we are tackling those expensive winter utility bills. I'm going to show you a simple, traditional trick to winterproof your drafty windows using things you probably already have, sitting right in your kitchen pantry. We are going to keep the cold wind out without paying another dime to the power company. Until then, remember folks, waste nothing, trust the truth, and keep your hands in the good earth. God bless and happy pineappling to you.